Oh, hi. Hey everyone. This is the third part for April the 13th, and so this is the last part for your Monday lesson. So let me get put you to my small window, and we're gonna start here. Let's think about some of the things that we went over in our last video. So here's some here's like five sentences that have time phrases in them, and we need to see if they need commas. So the first sentence is, last night I ate sushi. So since the time phrase is last night and it's at the beginning of the sentence, you put a comma, right? So go ahead and write down the next four sentences on a piece of paper and put the commas where you think they go, and stop the video, and when you're finished, restart the video and we can check your answers, okay? Okay, so you should have written down these four sentences and see if they need a comma. So the second sentence says, next Monday we will have class online. So the time phrase is next Monday. It's at the beginning of the sentence, so we will need a comma, right? The next sentence says, we will go to the park when the baby wakes up. So our time phrase is when the baby wakes up. So it's at the end of the sentence, so it does not need a comma. The fourth one says, this Sunday I will go to church. So our time phrase is this Sunday. So we're going to need a comma there. And the last sentence says, I go to the grocery store every Saturday. So our time phrase is every Saturday, and it's at the end of the sentence. So we do not need a comma in that one. Okay? So remember that when we're talking about time, the questions will probably start with when. Asks about time. So let's look back up at this first sentence. The question might be, when did you eat sushi? The answer would be, last night I ate sushi. When will you go take class online? Next Monday, we will have class online. When will you go to the park? We will go to the park when the baby wakes up. When do you go to church? This Sunday, I will go to church. When do you go to the grocery store? I go to the grocery store every Saturday. So when you see when, you know you're going to use some kind of answer that has a time phrase in it, okay? So let's get rid of all of that and go ahead and pull out your workbook, and we're going to go over pages 74 and 75, okay? Okay, so I went ahead and typed out the paragraph that is on page 74 so we could work on it together. So go ahead and if you haven't written your answers, stop the video and type in your answers, and then we'll check them together. If you have, just check them along with me. Okay, Hai Soon Shin immigrated from China to the United States. And on January 5th, 2009, because that's a specific day, so we're going to use on. She had a lot of plans. She started English classes, and in February, because it's just a month, so it's in that month, in February 2009, she took English classes for 2 years. She also worked as a server in a Chinese restaurant. In a Chinese. We should be using in again. In September 2010, she began vocational school. She learned to be a chef in a Chinese restaurant. Number 9, after 2 years, because all of this is in, we're still talking about the past. She graduated from the program. Then she found, it was already on there. Already typed it. Found a job as a chef in a Chinese restaurant. But that was in September of 2012. She worked there for 6 years, but soon had a dream. Finally, last week, Soon started her own restaurant, and she calls her restaurant Hai Soon's Dream. Okay, so you can stop the video and make any corrections if you got any of those wrong. Also, you could practice reading aloud for, just reading and fluency again, okay? So you can do that, and then come back and we will start part 2, and we will complete her timeline. Okay, so I hope you were able to make those corrections, and I hope you were able to have time to read that out loud. Now we're moving on to part 2, and we're going to complete the timeline. So number 1 is done for us. What happened in January of 2009? It's B. She came to the United States, right? So the answer is B. Okay, the second thing that happened is in February of 2009. The answer is going to be D. She started her English classes. And number 3 is 2009 to 2010, and that's going to be F. That's when she worked as a server. And number 4, September of 2010, that's when she began vocational school, so the answer is A. Number 5, August 2012, the answer is going to be C. That's when she graduated from her vocational school program. And number 6, 2002 until this year, that's when she worked as a chef. Okay, so your answers for part B, number 2 are B, D, F, A, C, E. Okay? So let's go ahead and turn to page 75. So remember we were talking about there are two ways to write time, and one is having the phrase at the beginning with a comma, and one is having the time phrase at the end with no comma. So that's how we're going to answer these questions. We're going to use both ways. So number 1 says, when did Hai-sun leave China? On January 5th, 2009, comma, she left China. So that's the first way we can write it. Now, if we put the time phrase on the end of the sentence, we don't need a comma, and we can see she left China on January the 5th, 2009. So what I would like for you to do is go ahead and do 2 through 7. Write write the answers in 2 different ways. One with the time phrase at the beginning with a comma, and one with the time phrase at the end with no comma. And we will come back and check our answers together. Okay, so you should have had time to finish part 3. So let's go over these sentences. So we've already did number 1 together. So let's go to number 2. When did she begin English classes? So our first sentence says right here, we can write it, in February of 2009, she began English classes. So the time phrase is at the front and it has a comma. Now if we put it at the end, it's she began English classes in February of 2009. Now remember, both of these are correct. It's just a preference or a way to mix it up when you're doing a lot of writing. Number 3, the time phrase for 2 years, comma, she took English classes, and then she took English classes for 2 years. Number 4, when did she begin vocational school? In September 2010, she began vocational school. The time phrase is at the front, and we see the comma. She began vocational school in September 2010. Time phrase is at the end, no comma. Number 5, in what year did she graduate from vocational school? Time phrase is at the beginning, in 2012, comma, she graduated from vocational school. Time phrase is at the end, she graduated from vocational school in 2012. So you may want to go ahead and stop the recording and make any corrections, because when I scroll up to show you the rest of the answers, these will be gone from the screen. All right, so number 6 says, when did she find a job as a chef? So the time phrase at the beginning, in September 2012, comma, she found a job as a chef. She found a job as a chef in September of 2012. Time phrases at the end, no comma. Number 7, when did she open her own restaurant? Last week, comma, she opened her own restaurant. Time phrases at the beginning, comma. Time phrase at the end, she opened her own restaurant last week. Okay, once again, you can go ahead and stop the video if you need to and make any changes, and then come back and we will keep going with the lesson. Okay, so we're back, and now you can put away the workbook and get out your student book, the blue book that we use in class, and go ahead and turn to page 80. Turn to page 80, and this is what you should see. Okay? Okay. So what do we see there? So at the top, it looks like it says a web address.com, so it looks like it may be an email, but the actual email says application for a marriage license. So to get married, you have to apply for a marriage license. Okay? So look at the marriage license. Who wants to get married? Who? Well, it says name of groom. It's Antonio Marco Velez. So the groom, we see his name is Antonio Marco Velez. So he is wanting to get married. Who is he wanting to marry? It's Maria Luisa Camacho. Can't spell, guys. Okay, so the groom, which is the man, would be Antonio Marco Velez, and the bride, which is the lady, obviously, it would be Mary Luisa Camacho. Okay, so when was Antonio born? So we look at the second where it says birth date. That's how we know when they're born. So Antonio was born 6/12/1990. So what's the 6 is the month. So that's going to be June. Or you can say June 12th, 1990. Okay? So because the 6th month is June. And Maria, her birthday is 11/17/1995, because we see that out there by her name. And the 11th month is November. You can also write it this way. All right? So there's Antonio's birthday and Maria's birthday. So what I would like for you to do now is go ahead and stop the video and do part A and answer those questions. And when you're finished, turn the video back on and we will go over the answers together. Okay, so the first one says, number 1, when was the bride born? So we know the bride is the lady, and we can see her birth date we talked about was November 17th of 1995. So we see the year B is 1995, right? Let's look at number 2. What phrase on the application is a clue to the meaning of divorce? Well, when you get married, you come together. So if the marriage ended, that's a divorce. So marriage ended is the answer to that. Okay, number 3, what statement is true? Antonio was married before. Maria was married before. Antonio is from Peru, or Maria is from Mexico. Well, the answer is going to be A. Antonio was married before. Because we see under his name where it says number 6, last marriage ended by divorce. So he was married before and got divorced. So number 3 is A. And number 4, when is their wedding ceremony? When are they planning to get married? Let's see. The date is, okay, at the very bottom, it says ceremony date. That's the ceremony is the actual wedding. So that will be their wedding date. And it says June 22nd, 2018. And that's letter D. Okay? So your answers for that are B, D, A, and D again. Okay, so let's look at letter B, the last part. Tony is going to get his marriage license today. He knows he has to take identification. And identification would be a way they know who you are. It's usually like a driver's license, or if you're an American citizen, you'll have a social security card. Sometimes they'll accept credit cards that have your picture on it. Last night, someone stole his wallet. So he didn't have a driver's license. What should he do? So the one, it says go to the appointment. That was number one, sorry. Number two says wait for a new driver's license. Number three, call the Department of Motor Vehicles. Or four, something else. Well, I don't think he should do number one, because even if he went to the appointment, unless he has another form of ID, he's not going to be able to get the marriage license. So what he can do is go ahead and apply for a new license, or he could call and go down to the Department of Motor Vehicles and see if he could get one faster than in the mail. So probably doing 2 or 3 would be his best bet, because if he goes down there without identification, they're not going to give him his license anyway. So anyway, we're at the end of part 3. I want to remind you that after you watch the videos, be sure you're putting something in the comments, either here or watched or something, just to let them know to count your time and that you as being present in class. And don't forget, you can send me anything at angelamonroe1@gmail.com, or if you need answers or any questions asked, you can hit me up on WhatsApp. I think everybody in class has my WhatsApp, and I will see you for Wednesday's class.